Alright. I hope this works. This is my other GoPro Hero something. 10? But it kind of does not like being cold and wet for too long. There's something wrong with this one too, but I just dried it out in the heater, the wall heater. It's recording, it's working again. I was going to take that hunting last evening. I left it on the quad on the GoPro stick overnight. No big deal, right? It's supposed to go underwater, and then it was acting up, but it's working now. So, let's get into it. Now, the river is absolutely chocolate milk, blown out, flooding, rocking. So that's it for those floating the river for now. Now I have to concentrate on getting all my gear ready to go. I'll be stopping in the coastal mountains if I have time. If I can pull it off and leave a day early, I will go through Squamish and I will go up the Squamish main line to where that man saw that thing behind the stump, take a picture of his face. And I'll go there, park, figure out where he took that photo from. He sent me the picture and I'll set up my camera and I'll walk right up there and show you guys. And you know what else? I just finished putting in a new 2,000 watt inverter in my truck. Just did it. Got my truck back. And it works. So I will be using that to recharge my rechargeable item so that I can operate the Starlink and the internet anywhere and hopefully get back to my original goal of live streaming a hunt. And I'll be doing that too. So if I can, I will be able to. I'll take you to where, if I get the extra day, I'll take you guys to where he took that video or photo. I'll set up the internet and I'll do it live. Why not do it live? Wouldn't that be fun, right? I'll take you there to where he saw that face live. That's what I'll try to do. What else? The truck? I kind of had to guess what was going on. He's a super nice guy, but it's a $1,500 part, right? I know they screwed up in the first one. And he's an honest mechanic, though. And I believe, well, he kind of might have twisted the truth a little bit by saying he got another brand new one. He's waiting for the manufacturer to pay him his money, etc., etc. Meanwhile, I drove away, conked out again. And then he finally admitted yesterday, he goes, well, we had another Chrysler fuel pump here, and the plug-in was, something was wrong with the plug-in. And it wasn't telling the computer the right message. So they got that straightened out finally. It cost me a lot of money and time and aggravation. A lot of people say, it's time to get a new truck. Why do you got that truck? I have that truck because it's a Cummins diesel. You take care of them, you'll get 1,000,000 frickin' kilometers out of them, right? And they're very cheap on fuel, and I own it, and I can't stand making payments on anything. And it's old enough that I can somewhat fix most of the items myself. I've always fixed all my own shit. But I will not fall into this, get suckered into buying a brand new vehicle. It's not going to happen ever in this lifetime. It's the biggest gimmick they ever made. Off topic. So anyway, let me get back into this. Now listen, yesterday a man emailed us with a picture of the orange glowing light over the pond, right? And he said that he had heard, he said that he sent it in but hadn't heard me read it. So I did a search, found it, because I remember I saved his email and put search in front of it yesterday to make sure I would find it. And I like to do what I say I'm going to do, so I did it, I found it, and I'm going to share it right now. Might have to adjust the lighting in here a bit, maybe. Excuse me. Alright, this is fairly recent, I think. This is titled, Is There Really This Much Weirdness? Yes, there is. Hi, Steve, and all the members of the club. Yes, you can use my name. It's Jim Holer. I wrote you about a year ago and told you my experience about night turning to day in Wisconsin. I remember that. I think I remember a few people actually having that. And also hearing clear, close sabe speak in Alaska on Prince of Wales Island. I thought that was enough weirdness in my life, but since then it has continued. The woods being deathly quiet has got a new meaning for me. I'm very in tune with the woods and all that go on around me. That being said, on any given night, that there is no sound of frogs, crickets, cicadas, or other insects and animals, I notice it quite quickly. About 18 months ago, I was sitting in my yard around the fire pit, as I do many nights. I noticed the woods were completely silent. We have a lot of coyotes here, a lake across the road from me full of frogs and mosquitoes, and all woods behind my home. I brushed it off as a fluke because it didn't feel creepy to me. I was just really wondering when the sounds would come back. I ended up going to bed that night. The following night, same scenario. I'm sitting in the yard by the fire pit alone, practicing my morning dove call. Woo, whoo, hoo, hoo. I'm sorry, I gotta suck at this on the type to you guys, right? Sorry, that's the best phonetics I could come up with. And I noticed again total silence, so I decided to walk into the woods and try to spook anything or get a response, which I received promptly. As I stepped into the pitch black of silent woods, and this is about 1:30 a.m., I was greeted with the loudest amplified morning dove call, as the same as I was doing by the fire pit in my yard just minutes before. A dove could never make that call that loudly, and I've been practicing it for over 35 years, and I sure as hell can't. It seemed to come from an area like 40 feet up a mature white pine. There was no bird. It freaked me out. I went inside for the night. Come to find out early spring that same morning that my friend / next door neighbor had died during the night from a blood clot in his leg. That sucks. That'd be such a ripoff, wouldn't it? All the shit you go through surviving life and that takes you down. That's just not fair. Since then, the woods have fell silent one more time. I didn't examine the situation because I had that creepy crawly feeling, but I am paying attention and waiting for my next opportunity. More weird shit. I received a free car for Christmas last year from a friend of mine. He lives in northeast Wisconsin, and I live in southwest Wisconsin. I was at his home on Christmas Eve. I had dinner, I got the car, and it was a used Hyundai. Much better than the junk I had. And I was trying to drive back home about 170 miles to drive on snow-covered roads, so I left before nightfall. I had traveled 45 to 50 miles before I got to the interstate southbound on-ramp. As I entered the interstate, I looked across the northbound lanes and beyond them to a tree line of large pines with an open grass field in front of it. This all happened in about 3 seconds. The field met the woods in a 90-degree corner in the back of the field. In that corner of the field, I noticed what appears to be a plywood cutout of a werewolf. About 8 to 9 feet tall, solid black, up on its hind legs, ears up, perfect profile view. I chuckled to myself as briefly as an instant, until I seen it shoot down the edge of the field so fast I couldn't keep tracks of its legs if I wanted to. I'm definitely thinking, let's say, Wolfman. Sounds better than Dogman, lol. That's insanely creepy. Steve, the rest is UFO related, so if you're not interested. My other point of weirdness happened 1 week ago deer hunting, the Wisconsin youth hunt with my son. We were hunting in Richland County, Wisconsin. We had hunted opening day on Saturday, and my son let every deer pass so we could see what the next day may bring. Sunday, the following day, my 13-year-old son was super eager to get a deer and dreaming of a buck, but also wanting venison to fill our freezer. We have 20 deer tags between two of us for the gun/bow whitetail season. Holy crap, that's a lot of deer. We're allowed 3 deer a year here, and not all the same species in British Columbia. 20 deer, wow. Whitetail are delicious, by the way. I wouldn't complain about that. We were watching the wood line at about 3 p.m., just before the yearlings come out to feed in the corn, and my son says, I just want to shoot something. I looked at the ridgetop above the trees, and I see something black headed our direction. The clouds were very scattered and low-lying, but still hundreds of feet above the hilltops. What I immediately thought was turkey buzzards soaring on the currents. So I jokingly say to my son, who has a deer rifle in his hands, shoot that. Bird? Wait, it has no wings. What the F is that? I watched it in clear daylight as it passed over us. It was remarkably clear that it appeared to be a flying, rectangular trunk, maybe as large as 12 foot long by 4 foot by 4 foot, all dark in color, but not pitch black. It is traveling across a southern wind heading west, and it did not change course, altitude, make a sound, no lights, no fuel trail. and had no propeller. I seen it perfectly clear. I am dumbfounded. Since then, I've found a video of this same object in El Paso, Texas, 2 years ago. No way. High weirdness these days, Steve. All anyone needs to do is pay attention. God bless us all, and the People's Republic of North America. I know, right? Sounds good to me. For now, we'll just have to say, Can-Am. Thanks, Steve, for the outlet, the insight, the common ground, and for having the same morals and mentality. Seems some people are becoming a rare breed. Good luck on all the hunts and endeavors, Jim Hooler. P.S. My son took 2 does that Sunday. Right on. Good for him. That's really, really good to hear. Because you know what he's going to do? He's going to pass that on to his kids, and so on, and so on, and so on. And they're going to be very, very healthy because of that. That's a bizarre description of seeing stuff in the sky, for sure. That's something like what I saw in the ocean one time, frickin' years ago, in my tiny little 15.5-foot Hurston runabout with a 50-horse outboard, and I decided I was going to be adventurous. I was finally going to go all the way across the strait to Port Angeles, Washington State, on one of those. Not a ripple, there's rollers, but no wind. And I had a buddy of mine, well, let's go over there, let's do it. It's like, okay. We started ripping across. Then we lost our nerve about 3/4 of the way, I think. We were way out there. We were punks. But I remember seeing something like that sort of come up out of the water on a big roll. And just one of those, what the hell was that? It just looked big, dark, semi-rectangular, not moving back or forth, like not under motion, but it just sort of, the rollers come up and things disappear, right? And you got to wait for the next right wave. Never came up again. Don't know what it was, but it was big. I'll remember that. And your description took me back to that memory. Crazy. The Wolfman description freaks me out. The speed, it's a pattern you can't ignore. So many people. So many freaking people have shared that description. Devil. All right, speak. What do we got? All right, here we go. This is titled Juvenile Dogman Creature. Go figure, right? The very next email. Thanks again for sending that email, man. And anything else you come across during your time, if you come across some missing puzzle pieces you think might be helpful here, get it into us, all right, buddy? Appreciate you. Hi, Steve. It's been a while since I've corresponded, but I thought these would be useful in some way to the good people that follow this channel. My wife and I were staying overnight at the haunted Octagon House on 10 acres in Kentucky, USA. This house is actually a museum full of Civil War relics, and the spirits that remain there are evidently not all that resides in this property. That's an odd place to want to stay. My wife took this photo. One is the original, and the other is just a highlighted version of the original. This 10-acre property has 50-plus sheep that roam inside an electric fence, fully guarded by 3 Kengal dogs at all times. Kengal dogs. I wouldn't want to be shredded by one of those. Google up those dogs. They're big. Guarded by 3 Kengal dogs at all times, or to the best of their ability. I think those are Afghan dogs. Are they from Afghanistan or something, or Asian? Whatever. Those are big-ass dogs. My wife began snapping photos of the property as soon as 3 dogs sounded off, as if to alert of some impending danger. We did attempt to recreate this the following morning before leaving the property. She took several photos, as close to scale and distance as possible. We took daytime photos with me and without me standing in the same location as the subject. There is clearly nothing standing there in the daylight photos, and the subject appears to be only 4 feet tall, 4 foot 6 inches max. I'm 6 foot tall, and it definitely seems to be at least 2 feet shorter than my photo at the same scale and distance. The gentleman that runs this place has made it very clear in the past that cryptids are seen on occasion there and around that county in Kentucky. getting a bit long, so I'll end it here. Please share with the great folks of this channel. Perhaps it can clear up some things or doubt some may have after seeing one of these things. Kind regards, Scott. P.S. You can use my name if you want. All right, so there is a photo, first one. I'll share them here. There's another one. Seems a little more exposed. Here's two photos. Then you sent me another email. Follow-up. Juvenile telling me, oh, hey Steve, I resent this photo. After I looked at the sent photos in my earlier email, the subject is unrecognizable in earlier email. I hope this pic came through better. Stay safe with my friend Scott. Okay. All right. There we go. Looks a lot. I think we're missing the... Okay, what do we got? I'm going to go to the top of my notes. So I've got your two emails together. There's only two photos. Are you in one of these things? I guess I got to do the zoom myself, right? So there's the zoom in. Some set a tree. Man, it's on my phone screen, you guys, so I don't know exactly what I'm seeing. One of them is apparently you, I guess. If we're missing photos, send them again. All right, but as requested, I'm sharing what you shared. Interesting. One of those had to have been there things so far for what we can see, from what I can see. It's one of those had to have been there moments, right? Which I have all the time in my life. Now, who else? Look at me skimming. You know, this reminds me. This reminds me of the phones. Quick mention, little off topic. As I know a lot of you are searching for truth. That's all I'm doing in life. I'm trying to enjoy life as best I can, which I do. I'm probably living 5 different lifetimes at once. My choice. And I always feel like I'm running out of time, and I try to get every single thing I can in before my time's up. But I'm almost wondering at times, all right, at times, because it's amazing to me the blatant atrocities. And yeah, I'm going to say something about this. The blatant atrocities that have gone on the planet here, across the seas, everywhere, from the same dirty bastards. Now listen to me. These little items here. Like, lately I'm trying to figure out why so many people, you present them with some facts and they kind of look. And almost like right now, people's minds are programmed, no matter what the topic is, no matter how solid the evidence is on the topic at hand. And I'm talking numerous topics, okay, guys? Not just the ones that dominate this channel. Try to follow this with me. What I am suspecting, which may be a possibility, is these little devils here and the most common apps that the world seems to be on. So what would that be? Twitter or X, which I'm not on. I tried to be on it for about 2 days, I think. I got a warning and I got booted. I don't have time for it. Instagram seems to be global, pretty popular. YouTube. Now follow me. Now what do? We get on here. Even with the topics that interest us, we get on here and we go like this. You're just flipping through, right? And it's going in our eyes, hitting our brain, and it's almost like it is programming us for it to be normal, to just take a quick little glance at something and flick by it. You're picking up what I'm putting down? Now here's where I'll try to give a better description of what I mean. So we'll take a topic that was getting very popular just a little while ago. It was the movie that I as well helped promote. A lot, every single truther that I know promoted this movie, and it was the movie, I can't even remember the name of the movie. exposing governments, especially North American governments, at trafficking children, human trafficking. Remember? They're revealing truth, important truth, fact-based stories, truths, evidence in our face. Everybody promoted the living shit out of it, caused a great big uproar, and then what are we now? I don't even know how long ago it was, a month ago or something, and it's gone. It's gone. Even all of the people who really truly care have went like this. You know, like, and on to the next. And we managed to give that topic, that particular topic, X amount of attention, which in these days seemed to be a lot of attention, but we still flick past it. And I don't think that's our true nature. I don't think that's normal. I don't think it can't be normal unless we are daily, all day, for some, we're programming our brains to skip by. Is my brain meshing up with my lips? Are you picking up what I'm putting down? I just have a funny feeling. I mean, we are getting so much truth thrown in our faces, so much evidence thrown in our faces of so many different various absolutely alarming topics around the globe that do directly affect us. And what we seem to be doing on average is just swiping. Getting pissed off, making a comment, hit the like or dislike times, and then whoosh, it's gone. It's gone from your average human sight, and then you're off to the next item. And then you swipe. You swipe past that one, swipe past the next one. And our brains aren't really stopping and giving many topics the attention they deserve, the attention they should be getting from our brains. Why is that? Why is that? Maybe, possibly. You never know, right? If you got any input, whether you want to call me an absolute lunatic, I'm losing my shit finally, or maybe I'm making sense. Maybe you can add to it. Throw down in the comment section below. I have a funny feeling this just may have something to do with what's going on. Big time, and this little devil is one hell of a contraption they came up with, is it not? It's an amazing little item that grabs humans worse than a bucket of oats for the herd of horses. Way worse. It's amazing to watch and be aware of. Alarming. What do we got? This is titled Bluff Creek. Hi, Steve. Just to finish the story to you. I've never found a single tracker on this campground. Never felt threatened in camp. My dad has never seen one, but almost all of his children and grandchildren have. After Dad retired, he became campground host for 28 years. The grandkids would spend their summers here. We never had any scary things happen here. I don't know what the deal is. I've watched you for years now, and the patterns are very compelling. Anyway, when you get down to the States, call me. I'd love to show you this country up there. I can get you to the film site and other squatchy areas. This area is also closed to humans during the rainy months, November to June. So I believe it's a sanctuary of sorts. The fall steelhead and salmon fishing is very good. October's the month. And then, a couple more picks for you. I'm 57 now and much more good for hiking. Too many years of chasing big salmon over the rocks. All right, well, the only picture I got was a little toddler in a crib, and I think that was a misshare. But anyways, and that is an example of a second email coming after an original email. And then it gets lost, and we read it, and then it kind of doesn't really make sense, right? That's the unfortunate thing when people don't send in everything in one. But I do remember you telling me about that area, and it was before the film site, right? Your family was there. And there was a lot of experiences going on there with everybody. I remember that. Speak the devil. So here's... Hold on a minute. All right. This is titled Email Number 3. I hope it makes sense, but I'm going in. Thanks for sharing my story, Steve. The spelling may have been a little atrocious, lol. Alright, little mention about a town in New Brunswick. Alright, I paid a lot more attention to my writing this time to make things easier to read. I admit I'm not the best writer sometimes when I go on tangents. This one's going to be touching on a few topics. Mainly what I watched / listened to today. And usually when the topics touch on things I'm familiar with or to give confirmation about, also hearing something similar. All to add to the knowledge. And maybe my point of view on things might help at least one person. Or at the very least make someone not feel crazy because they are not the only person to hear it. I think the sigh you're speaking of with the sight? Must be the sighting. I think the sighting you're speaking of with the nuclear power plant is probably near St. John. That would be my guess, where I'm pretty sure that's the only one we have in the province. I've heard of a few stories around the East Coast over the years listening to various channels. There's one particular one near Point de la Croix, which is where New Brunswick and Quebec border each other. On the Quebec side, near Restigouche Mountain. These are mainly all Micmac First Nation names here. A lot of Gits and Gooch in the names. Hard to pronounce just reading them if you've never heard the names before. The story of my life, man. Absolutely understandable, my friend. There is apparently a clan near this area around the Restigouche First Nations Reserve right on the New Brunswick-Quebec border, which is in the Matapedia Valley, Matapedia Valley. The beautiful mountain roads, dangerous highway in the wintertime. There's just 2 lanes, cliff wall on one side and cliff down to Restigouche River on the other side. Sometimes there is no guardrails. Sounds like your average day in British Columbia. I noticed a lot more voices are coming on and not only speaking about Sabe, but of other things that we are not aware of in our planet that we've been encountering as a species since before the last major extinction from 11,000 years ago. But I've been picking this up also from the last few years that things are definitely not as they seem. Death is not the end. No, it's not. We're a far older species than we are told. Much older. And we're not the only species that is at the same level of sentient intelligence on the planet. I concur. I love information, probably why I can retain it so well, and remember stories the way I do. So, researching these sorts of subjects, whether it's human origin, Sabe, aliens, dinosaurs, doesn't matter, it's all interesting to me. But I did want to mention that I've heard stories of these bipedal dinosaurs before. Let me read that again. But I did want to mention that I've heard stories of these bipedal dinosaurs before. This would be the 4th or 5th I've heard about them in the deserts of the U.S. Similar noises being described as well as behavior. Just these ones were seeing, probably not saying, I think you meant seeing. Just these ones were seeing raptors instead of T-Rex, as the gentleman has mentioned. And during the 1800s, all over the U.S., even legends of sightings of Pterosaurus. Pterosaurus? Not sure if it's Pteranodon, or pterodactyl. Either way, descriptions are very accurate. And all people who are not in contact with one another all describing the same sort of thing. Now, how true are these stories? I have no idea. Totally a take it or leave it kind of thing for sure, but still makes you wonder. Since this brought me to a few things that I've been looking into, and there are a few cryptids that are very well dinosaurs with how the locals describe them. One of which is pronounced Makili Mabembe, which means the one that stops rivers from flowing. Wow, so that's a native word name. There was a movie back in the 80s about this. It wasn't until my adulthood and realizing that it's based on actual legend near the Congo Basin in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. The Congo is supposed to be one hell of a crazy unexplored place, right? And this is basically the same thing. The locals here, like all of us, they know their local wildlife. But when the investigators keep trying to point out, oh, did you see a giraffe? Know this. Pointing at a damn brontosaurus. Then the experts point at hippos. And same thing, the locals say no. These go after hippos. They do not get along. And yet again, pointing at the image of the brontosaurus, saying that that is the creature they've been seeing. But with this being on the table, there have been prehistoric fish that have been supposed to have been extinct for hundreds of millions of years. The coelacanth. And they still fish these out of the waters, and they are totally unchanged from the fossils. And these are fish that were only supposed to be alive during the Triassic era, over 200 million years ago. There have also been rock carvings discovered that are over 6,000 years old. One of them is a very good illustration of a stegosaurus. And this is 6,000 years ago, carved in a wall of pictographs in Cambodia, on the ancient ruins there. And it's got its skin on, and is drawn in a way that the drawer has seen this animal. I don't think they actually went extinct 65 million years ago, since we're now learning that it won't necessarily take millions of years for a fossil to develop, and this can happen instantaneously. So, this begs the question on what really happened on this planet thousands of years ago, because I can speak for everyone here on this channel. And we've all been on the same page about being lied to for centuries about nearly everything. But some of the readers have been mentioning the Book of Enoch, as well as the Emerald Tablets, which does have some parts of our history. I'm starting to believe that a lot of it is pretty scattered, and most cultures on the planet each have pieces, and most indigenous peoples have nearly all of it, since the First Nations here in North America can trace back to over 30,000 years. Meanwhile, the so-called history experts in the academics totally ignore the history of all these people and just stick with their hypotheses and try to give this dumbed-down explanation that doesn't even make any logical sense. Even how they say the pyramids were built doesn't even make any sense. 3-ton bricks rolled on logs and built by slaves? What? Yeah, okay. I know I've been lied to for a while. This scam-demic really showed us how much they can lie and manipulate. And, well, it would just be a matter of time till we, the people, decide enough is enough and really show those lying assholes how little we actually need them. And you said it too. I've also been saying it. All it would take would be the whole country to stop going to work and not spend a cent for a good solid week or two, instead of how they forced us to do it a couple years ago. All those lies are unraveling, and the powers that be are scrambling and screwing up, and their lies are getting more and more obvious now. How long will it take for other Canuckistanians to figure it out? I don't know. But I have noticed a lot of people's worldview changing drastically over the last 2 years. Before, people would just call me crazy for being as skeptical over the government as I've been since high school. I never take anything they would say at face value. I've been called a conspiracy theorist and every other name in the book, all because those are too scared to admit that they are being bamboozled. It doesn't bother me at all. I've known for years when people act that way with a messenger they shut down, name call, get angry. I've seen it all. Whether it's about the scam we just went through and are still going through. E.T., Sabe, doesn't matter. It seems like a chunk of the human population have this inability to cope with the reality of being fooled or grasp these sort of topics without going right to, oh, you're just a conspiracy theorist. As if they were conditioned to think that term is synonymous to a false story. Either way, it goes to get frustrating when people really do not want to believe anything else but what they are told. And also makes me want to fight. I have no patience for people who belittle others for believing something, or talking about what they have seen or what's happened to them. Belittlement is the coward's way. Why not try to be understanding? It takes a lot to talk about some of this shit for some people, and treating them that way will only encourage them to not speak again. This part, Steve. Sorry. This part here, Steve, is for your eyes only in brackets. Alright, I'll read that after I get through. I know this is a long one. I might have listened to 3 or 4 of them in a row, including the one of mine you read. Thanks again for sharing. And if any of my insights help anyone here, I'm glad. Hopefully I don't end up becoming a nuisance when I do chime in to give my 2 cents, though. Hopefully it adds corroboration to other stories. Watch your 6 and keep fighting a good fight. Mark Engers, the East Coaster. Mark, appreciate you, man. I feel all the frustration tenfold over myself, and so do a lot of people here too, right? But at least we're here still. At least we're here, and at least we can still talk, share truth, give each other things to look at and listen to, and take from what we will or leave it, right? And respect each other the whole time. I'll bite my lip right now on what I could add to with everything you ranted about. I shouldn't just call it a rant, you're just pointing out the obvious. Now, give me a minute, I'll get to reading what was in the brackets. Alright, on to another one. And to the previous emailer, you asked for my reply, and yep, there you go. Title, In My Head. 30-ish years ago, I was scouting and camping in the Oregon woods. Somewhere between Rainier and Vernonia, Oregon. I'd run around in these woods for years. This time I was camping at a gate that you could only walk past. It was Weyerhaeuser land and no vehicles at the gate. I was laying in my bedroom contemplating on getting up to make coffee. I heard a loud banging. At first I thought it was squirrels dropping pine cones out of the trees for their winter food, and I realized it was way too loud for that. I got up and walked about 80 yards to the edge of the large draw. I could see a tree shaking or vibrating a couple 100 yards down the canyon. I started looking through my binoculars, but could not look through the canopy of the trees to see what was making the tree move. So, at 23 years old and not scared of nothing, I tightened up my boots and headed over the edge. It took about 20 to 30 minutes to get to where I thought the noise was coming from. Did not see nothing, but I swear, something in my head said, that is far enough. I looked around to see if someone was playing a trick on me. All I got was an eerie feeling. I left the area kind of slow, kind of fast, constantly looking at my back trail above me and everywhere. I got back to my truck, made some breakfast, and sat on the edge of the draw staring down with my binoculars, trying to figure out what was making all that racket earlier. I headed out around noon because I had to work the next day. Following weekend, I figured I was going in the backside of that area off of another road. It was probably half a dozen miles up and down through the timber. I was a couple miles away from where I thought I needed to be when I started getting the hair on my neck standing up. Now, Steve, I've seen mama bears with cubs bawl out screaming and snot blowing out of their nose. Even my mother threatening to rip my ears off if I didn't do what she said. But I have never been this scared in my life. That same voice in my head said, that's far enough. I looked around again, but did not stay long. I'll be honest, I kept looking over my shoulder. It didn't take me near as long to get back to my truck as it did to get to that spot. I've kept this story to myself for years. Thank you so much for giving me the strength to bring it up. I've been listening for a while, but just never got the courage. Thank you. Keep up the great work. You encourage a lot of people that never thought it could be. You can use my name, Don Allen. God bless. God bless you too, Don Allen. Appreciate you sending that in, man. Sucks to harbor that shit for so long and be nervous to share it, right? Nervous to share it. Not anymore. Not here. Not here. Alright, what do we got? I don't know what I'm going to do if I experience the voice in my head, somebody threatening me. I don't have an I honestly do not have a clue. I mean, is it going to inflict terror in me, and that's going to dictate what I'm going to do? Maybe, I don't know. I don't do well with being bullied or told what to do or threatened. I just don't. Okay. Where's another one? This isn't red here. So many freaking emails. Alright, here we go. Here's another one. Older one, I think. This is titled My Invisible Guest. I live in south central Kansas, about 4 miles from a small town with a population of 500 or so. It's flat land with few trees and getting fewer by the year, thanks to farmers with bulldozers. I'm fortunate enough to live in one of the few tree rows we have left around here, which makes for interesting encounters with all kinds of wildlife. In the winter of 2021, I believe it was the month of November, when we started having strange sounds like someone or something was scratching on our houses. Plus, we both had the feeling we were being watched. The reason I say we is my mother and I live on the same property, just different houses. I have security cameras that pretty much cover the whole farm. When these strange sounds started, I noticed one of my cameras would start recording, and then a different camera would go to recording, but there's nothing in the video it recorded. This was happening 7 to 10 times a night. Plus, every time the cameras would go to recording, the dogs would walk around the house with their hair standing up, growling and smelling the air. One night I thought I would let them out to see what they would find, but to my surprise, they wouldn't go out. Both my dogs are excellent guard dogs. They would knock you down to get out of the door any other time. My mother said she was having the same thing happening with her dog as well. So, here I was trying to figure out how to see something that's invisible. I got home a little after dark one evening, and as I did, a friend of mine showed up, and no sooner than we sat down in the house, I noticed one of my cameras had started recording. This is when I told my friend how all the weird stuff that had been going on around here lately, and his reply was that maybe I had a ghost, or a being of some sort hanging around that I needed to smug the farm with sage. Smudge, you meant. Smudge the farm with sage. That's what gave me my answer to my earlier thought. How do you see something invisible? There wasn't a breath of wind outside, and the humidity was fairly high, so I went to my wood-burning stove, which is the only source of heat I have, and poured a bunch of oil in it, with some wood that was fairly green yet, so it should smolder pretty good. I light the stove and sat down to talk to my friend. It wasn't 10 minutes, and I noticed one of my cameras was recording, and by this time I had a nice heavy fog of smoke blanketing the farm. As we continued talking, I noticed something had stirred the smoke up in front of one of the cameras, and it was recording. I waited for it to stop recording, then rewound it and watched. At 42 seconds into the recording, you could see something that was around 10 feet tall. Dome-shaped head with very long arms. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. My friend was speechless. I bet we rewound that recording and watched it 50 times, and both of us were seeing the same thing. It honestly looked like the wooden Bigfoot I had cut out of a piece of plywood and hung on the outhouse. The next day my grandpa was out to visit, so I showed the footage to him and my mother, and the first words out of my granddad's mouth was, "Looks like a Sasquatch to me." The odd noises and camera recording went on for about a week and a half, and we haven't had anything like that since. Makes me wonder if these beings are way more advanced in technology than we are. If they have the ability to cloak themselves or being able to shapeshift, just maybe we aren't the ones studying them. Just maybe we're the ones under the microscope. I know they have excellent vision in the dark, but their eyes must adjust to the changing light conditions. Otherwise, they wouldn't get close to my place because I have 2 yard lights on at night. But they are amber-colored lights so as not to attract the bugs so much like the bright white lights do. For the life of me, I can't imagine why it would be hanging around here unless it was studying our behavior. Mom said she had woke up to the front door being wide open twice in that period of time. Like I said, who's studying who here? I never felt any feelings of fear or danger, but did feel like I was being watched. Mom had the same feeling. I looked for footprints, anything that would help prove what we clearly saw on the recording, but had no luck. And the way I see it, they will be seen only if they want you to see them. Keep up the good fight, Steve. This is Justin Casper of Attica saying we're not alone in this world by any means. Later. That was good thinking. That was actually pretty good thinking, Justin. I wouldn't have thought of that. Then again, I don't try to get shit on video, though. I don't try to get these beings on video. I try to get lots of wildlife on video. But anyway, you know what's coming in the comment section below, right? People are going to be freaking out saying, where's the footage? Right? They are. They are. So if you do decide to share that footage with all the people through this channel, I'll give you the pre-heads up now so we don't have to get raged on by a lot of viewers in the future if you do share. Is if you do decide to share that footage, make sure you go out and record yourself in the same position as the image you caught on camera and submit that too, if you decide to share it all. And that would really help a lot of people here as well. And I'd be curious to see that myself. But anyway, man, is it raining out there. I'm gonna go to starting to get my gear ready to go. Rain or shine, I'm going up north. And I hope, if I can, I will pull off a day early to go up the Squamish Valley, and I'll go find that place where the image of that face by the stump was a few days back. And I'll set up the Starlink, and I'll do it live just for something fun to do, and just to try out my new equipment and my new, electronic device I put on the truck so I could power it up without a noisy generator. And then I can recharge that power pack, and then I can pack things on my quad with the Starlink 2 into remote areas and share live, like I was planning on earlier. Anyway, share my story at howtohunt.com. It's never ending, man. It's never frickin' ending. The place of truth. So many people here sharing it. I'm out of here. I'll be back again later on. Share my story at howtohunt.com. Alright? I'll be back.